It's a rainy day in this part of the country. Hope you ain't too cold. My name is Mr. Teacher. And here with me is our regular visitor.
My name is Daddy Gross.
Today we would be going into introduction to thoracic cavity. But before we start, there are a concept you need to be clear with. The difference between thoracic cage, cavity and wall.
The thoracic cavity is a hollow space within the chest that contains vital organs such as the heart, lungs, and esophagus. It's bound by the thoracic cage, which is a bony structure formed by the ribs, sternum, and thoracic vertebrae. Essentially, the thoracic cage encloses and protects the thoracic cavity, providing structural support and protection to the organs within it. The thoracic cage refers to the bony structure surrounding the chest, including the ribs, sternum, and thoracic vertebrae. Meanwhile, the thoracic wall encompasses both the bony components, like the thoracic cage, as well as the muscles, fascia, and other soft tissues that provide support and protection to the thoracic cavity. So, while the thoracic cage is a part of the thoracic wall includes additional structures beyond just the bones.
Haven cleared the concepts. Let's get into the skeleton of the thoracic wall properly.
The thoracic skeleton includes 12 pairs of ribs and associated costal cartilages. 12 thoracic vertebrae and intervertebral IV discs interposed between them and the sternum. The ribs and the costal cartilages form the largest part of the thoracic cage. Both are identified numerically, from the superior first rib or costal cartilage to the most inferior 12th rib. The ribs are curved, flat bones that form most of the thoracic cage. They are remarkably light in weight yet highly resilient. There are 3 types of ribs that can be classified as typical or atypical. The first set of class are the true ribs. First rib to 7th rib. They are attached directly to the sternum through their own costal cartilage. They are also called vertebrosternal ribs. We have those classified as false ribs. 8th, 9th and usually the 10th, but has variation in some individual. Their cartilages are connected to the cartilage of the rib above them, thus their connection to the sternum is indirect. They are also called vertebrachondral ribs. Floating ribs are the last class. Comprises the 11th, 12th and sometimes the 10th. The rudimentary cartilages of these ribs do not connect even indirectly with the sternum. Instead, they end in the posterior abdominal musculature. They also called the free or floating ribs.
Typical ribs, 3rd to 9th. The following are the components of a typical ribs. The head, wedge-shaped and has 2 facets, separated by the crest of the head. One of the facets for articulation with the numerically corresponding vertebra and the one facet for the vertebra superior to it. The neck connects the head of the rib with the body at the level of tubercle. Tubercle, located at the junction of the neck and the body. A smooth articular part articulates with the corresponding transverse process of the vertebra, and a rough non-articular part provides attachment for the costotransverse ligament. The body shaft, thin, flat, and curved, most markedly at the costal angle where the rib turns into rolla-tetale. The angle also demarcates the lateral limit of the attachment of the intermediate layer of intrinsic erector spinae muscle of the ribs. The concave internal surface of the body has a costal groove paralleling the interior border of the rib, which provides some protection for the intercostal and vessels. Atypical ribs, 1st, 2nd, and 10th to 12th. The first rib is the broadest, shortest and mostly sharply curved of the 7 true ribs. It has a single facets on its head for the articulation with T1 vertebra only and 2 transversely directed grooves crossing its superior surface for the subclavian vessels. The second ribs has a thinner, less curved body and is substantially longer than the first rib. Its head had 2 facets for the articulation with the T1 and T2 vertebrae. Its atypical feature is the presence of a rough area on its upper surface, the tuberosity of the serratus anterior. The 10th and 12th ribs, like this first ribs, have only 1 facets on their heads and articulate with a single vertebra. The 11th and 12th ribs are short and have no neck or tubercle. Thank you for joining us. My name is Mr. Teacher.
My name is Daddy Gross.
We continue this series tomorrow. There is no limitations to what you can do. Only believe it.